this 18-hour special on Startup Central. Today we're coming to you from Vijay Chowk, near the Parliament, near various very important government buildings, and I'm being joined by two startups that are making huge waves when it comes to pharmacies, but the reason they're here perhaps is because there's certain regulatory roadblocks. I'm talking about e-pharmacies. Joining me now is the co-founder of Pharmeasy as well as the vice president of 1MG. Thanks guys for joining us here. I'm sure you don't like the introduction, but facts are facts. So Dharmil, I'll start with you. First of all, as a viewer, thank you for making the World Cup happen in a good way, for being a good sponsor. We saw a lot of Pharmeasy ads, which also shows how you have obviously upped your advertising and marketing spend, but have customers taken to the idea of going online and ordering their medicines? How is all of that working out?
I think digital platforms is making the entire consumer life cycle into healthcare extremely seamless. A patient who was traditionally picking up a prescription from a doctor's clinic would then have to go for multiple retail outlets or pharmacy stores to check whether the medicines are available. They would always get the medicines at MRP in spite of having good margins available in the supply chain. There were never discounts given to customers, and also there would not be any technology tools or platforms which would remind the customer when would the medicines get over. The refills were not made available seamlessly. What technology platforms like Pharmeasy, 1MG are doing is making life easy for a patient. Okay. A patient who would want any medicines under the sun would be made available through our platforms, and because we are aggregating a network of pharmacies under our platform, we are able to provide a wider range of SKUs. Against a typical 500 to 1000 square feet of store will not be able to stock more than 5000 odd SKUs, and the industry has more than 200,000 SKUs. Okay. So that's the gap that exists in our traditional supply chain setup. That's what is being solved by a lot of our digital platforms.
Then why, Dr. Varun Gupta, are you not liked at the moment? And when I say liked, it's the regulatory roadblocks that exist. And I can understand why the traders don't like you, or why the traditional brick and mortar pharmacies don't like you.
So I don't agree with the word that we are not liked. There's a consultative process that was on. There was a 4-year consultative process, and we are involved with continuous with the government bodies. To name it, there was a Kamli committee that was formed in 2015. We won one of the parties where we used to have platform. As a group of entrepreneurs, we went and represented the sector. Then there were multiple consultations that happened with Ministry of Health, Ministry of Commerce, and Niti Aayog, and so on and so forth. So there was a process that was there, and last year, 2018, government came out with the draft rules. It is just that the entire process after the draft rules until this time is stalled. Right, should be expedited. The draft rule should be notified within a particular time frame.
And which is not happening.
Which is not happening.
But then I want to ask you, you've been in the news recently for the fundraise and all of that. So given this ambiguity, how are you guys able to go and raise funds? How are investors still able to put in money, convince that they're going to not just see the money back, but perhaps exponentially?
So fundamentally, we are compliant to the law of the land. There is a Drugs and Cosmetics Act, and then there is an IT Act. If you combine 1 plus 1 and you assess, what are the parameters where we have to be compliant, we are compliant. The point is that, is there a single regulatory body over the entire model which was not available so far, and which is where the Health Ministry took the onus to aggregate all the possible points or all the possible areas which are to be covered to govern an online pharmacy. For example, a local drug inspector in a state would not have the context of a marketplace or an online IT Act, and they would always refer to Drugs and Cosmetics Act. Whereas the model, the way it works for us is there is a digital platform, there is an offline pharmacy, there are pharmacists, and there are then the delivery boys. All of this is covered under the Marketplace Act, IT Act, and the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. But just the Health Ministry would not be able to...
And is the Health Ministry cognizant of the fact, I'm going to ask both of you this question, that there are actually billions of dollars riding on that decision. It isn't just about going beyond the most important aspect, which is patient care and healthcare penetration. The very fact that, like we saw earlier with, let's say, a Walmart or an Amazon, etc., there are literally billions of dollars that are riding on this because all of you are very well funded.
So they are cognizant of this, and obviously there is a lot more to come in yet. This is just tip of the iceberg. Like we would call it, the investor sentiment was so far, neutral for this sector. It's turning to be positive. There is a lot of interest, but if the government also provides some sort of positive booster with, clearing a lot of, questions that people are raising, I think there is a lot more to come in. If you just look at this 1 year, look at the number of fintech startups that got funded in just 1 year, and look at the number of healthcare startups that got funded.
What is the gap?
The fintech startups are going above 100, healthcare startups are in the range of 20 to 25.
Ticket size, you mean?
No, this is the number of startups that got funded.
Okay.
So, what I'm trying to say is that regulatory clarity.
And how much money has come into this sector in the last 12 months?
I think about 200 odd million.
Yeah.
200 to 250 million is what has come in the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
Versus, fintech space has gathered more than maybe a billion.
Okay.
More than that.
But I want to come back to you with this question, and because while you all are entrepreneurs, this is serious business. You're talking about lives here, you're talking about healthcare over here, which is what your solution seems to be, to improve that. But you can't be, simply because of what you do, your case can't possibly be that you only be governed by the IT Act, right? Because what if drugs aren't stored the way they're supposed to be stored? What if they're spurious? What if you're providing, I don't know, anti-anxiety medicines to those that don't want it? You have to be governed beyond just the IT Act, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is a good point. Yeah, please.
Which is what we are pushing for.
Huh.
We are pushing the government that govern us through the health ministry, govern us through
But you also have to be governed by the IT Act.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what the new draft will do is it'll create a registry of online pharmacies with the health ministry, so that we are always accessible by the regulatory bodies whenever they want to. They can come, and so even today, whatever sales happens through a partner pharmacy or a partner vendor in our network. All the regulators can today actually access our sales. They can access what are we selling. There is a complete track and trace of what medicines are being procured from which distributor in the country and are being sold to which patient in what pin code of the country. What are the prescriptions the patient had uploaded and what are the medicines being procured against that. All the records are available on the platform, and this is one of the advantages that online platforms bring to the table.
So adding to what Dharmil is saying, that currently the model is that the dispensation takes place from a licensed pharmacy only, right? So the current model is also licensed pharmacy. The advantage it offers is there's an entire track and trace. You go to a normal offline pharmacy, you take your prescription, you come back. Your prescription is with you. There is no record of that prescription. You don't have a mobile number or the address of the person who has taken the medicines. There is only a subset of medicine, that is Schedule H1. For that, there is a record that is maintained. In e-pharmacy setup, for the entire medicines, there is the entire track.
Yeah.
You can track to the source. So from the batch number, you can track that which distributor, which manufacturer has given this medicine. Plus, adding to what Dharmil says, that we as an e-pharmacy group, we have also launched a voluntary code of conduct.
Yep.
That these are the 5, 6, 7, 8 things which we will do as a group to maintain that the patient safety is not compromised. For example,
what are they?
For example, all the sleeping aids, all the narcotics, all the things which can cause
potential
abuse, habit-forming drugs are restricted through our platforms. Okay. We don't process that orders.
Which in fact even the pharmacies are supposed to be doing.
Yes, yes, that's number one. Number two, all the medicines are processed against the prescription of a registered medical practitioner. That's 2. 3, has to be dispensed under the supervision of a pharmacist. We all of us have a additional layer of pharmacists which go through those things. So at this point, let's say 1mg employs more than 200 pharmacists. We have 10-15 doctors in our board who are checking those. So that's an additional layer of safety. So as a commercial player, we are cognizant of the fact that we are into healthcare sector and patient safety is paramount to us.
Okay.
So that's...
So, now coming to the other question of technology, the wonderful part of it is that it leads to penetration, right? Which is what we need. So you've got a whole host of startups, for example, which are trying to connect doctors via distance to rural areas. And I'm guessing the role of a lot of you will come into being responsible to make sure that they get the medicines that they need. Have you all started doing that? Let me begin with you.
Sure. So,
or are you primarily in the urban metro?
As we speak, so we started with the urban areas because that's where we had our own connect, and we wanted to understand the model better. But as we started scaling, we realized the bigger problem lies in the rural areas, and today as we speak, we deliver medicines to each and every pin code of the country. That's
between all of you together, or are you talking about
just
Pharmeasy?
Okay. Even a few other players, I'm not sure, but most of us are delivering to each and every pin code of the country. What we call as the Bharat,
Bharat in India.
Yeah, so Bharat has lot more problems of access to medicines more than what the urban areas are facing today. So definitely this is a big problem, and we are already solving it. The penetration of doctors is also another thing that we are wanting to bat for. There are some players who are already existing, trying to solve that problem. We would be very happy to collaborate and provide a
would that be an
solution.
Organic growth for all of you to get into that aspect, which is long distance healthcare delivery?
Yeah, that's so adding to what you said. Initially we started with urban areas, so each of the companies is now serving a large number of pin codes. So for example, for 1mg we have tied up with common service centers that is serving 1,80,000 talukas. So that is serving the remotest part of the country.
Yeah.
So a villager can go to that CSC and then can order medicines from that common service center that is a part of Ministry of IT e-governance model. So that's increasing access to the quality medicines. In the villages, second problem is the quality, authenticity of the medicines. There is no track where the medicine is coming from, which supply chain. In this, the entire thing is on a particular bill and the transaction is recorded. There is an entire audit trail for the transaction. So the citizens of India are getting authentic quality medicines at the remotest part.
I think there is the right intent, there is the right solution. Even the government is quite positive about whatever is happening through these startups. I think just by pushing on the regulations, clarifying a few questions that people keep raising, I think they'll just provide a positive environment for startups to sort of scale faster and help reach this solution to millions of Indians who are deprived of basic healthcare delivery today.
Yeah.
As we speak. Yeah.
So we're a stone's throw away from Parliament, from Finance Ministry, from in fact even the Prime Minister's office is just above the hill. You have been meeting with senior government members. What kind of feedback are you getting? Because does it also mean that all of you are having to press pause on your business plans?
They've been quite positive since the last 4 years. We haven't faced any issue in terms of approaching them.
So is the bigger problem the High Court verdicts, for example?
So I think even the High Court verdict, it's just that a certain set of vested interest or people having some vested interest are giving a different spin to that. The court order is actually positive for us. It clearly mentions that people selling medicines without a valid license at a pharmacy should be penalized, and which is what we agree with. Every sale that happens across any of our online pharmacies are happening through a valid licensed pharmacy. So we're not worried about that. What we are talking about is creating a general framework for this industry. For an online pharmacy to thrive and to scale and to sustain, we'll need some clarity from the government saying that this is the policy that
but
we are
going to. But you've been seeking that for a while now.
And Madras High Court clearly mentioned that they have directed the government to notify the rules before 31st January 2019. Then they asked for an extension 6 months. So to your point, the court was positive that there should be early notification of the e-pharmacy rules to bring more clarity. And they have also noted in their judgment that a lot of patients, almost 50 lakh patients, are getting monthly medicines from e-pharmacy. So this is a very important sector which is improving access, particularly for elderly patients. Today's generation is a nuclear family. There's a lot of nuclear family setup, and so parents are staying away from children, so children can order medicines for their parents. So that's the advantage of these sectors. So that is being noted by the Madras High Court order. So I think
Okay. There's also a Delhi High Court order, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So even that has been fairly in line and in sync with the Madras High Court order, which clearly says that pharmacies which are selling without a valid license should be restricted, and which is what we also are aligned with. We agree with, and what we are asking for is more clarity in terms of just define, an online pharmacy, just define some framework. We want to register with the health ministry so that we are given a legal status,
This
because
is the case of you guys saying, hey, please recognize us, please register us, and they're all saying it's not my department. Is that it basically?
no, I think they've been quite supportive. It's just that the process is just taking too much time. It should
So
have
then
been.
again, I come back to the question: are you hitting pause on your business plan? How have you done this fundraise? How was that in the news?
I think we would have.
What did you tell your investors?
No, so everyone's deep dived, and like I said earlier, we are not violating any of the law of the land. We are compliant to each and every act or policy of the government. It's just that today, if someone has to evaluate us, someone has to look at 3 or 4 different policies or different acts falling under different ministries. The government just has to create like one single cover saying that okay, online pharmacies are governed by this framework. That is all we are asking for. There has been no pause in the business, but yes, had there been more clarity or better clarity, all of us know that instead of $500 million of investments into this space, there would have been north of $1 billion of investments into this space.
Okay. And while you seek that kind of clarity, while the courts have noticed that, what did you say, 50 lakh people have received medication which normally would not have, is that the number you took?
So that's what I'm saying. Currently 50 lakh patients are receiving per month medicines from
Medicines.
the entire e-pharmacies.
Have you guys any projection of what this can become? I'm guessing you'll want to say every Indian, but in the short term what it could be? Have you
So
done?
there are some market reports which says that the e-pharmacy sector would be approximately $3 billion sector by 2024.
Yeah.
There are some market reports on that.
So at least 6 to 8 times in the next 4 years.
The other one I wanted to ask you was, and I'm asking this on the benefit of the, if any government functionaries watching or any of the viewers, how do you assure and promise? I know you say that the brick and mortar stores also have the same rules, but when we go there, we can actually see their setup, and sometimes when you can see it, you get confidence, right? So we can see the refrigerator or there's electricity and all of that. We can actually check for the expiry date and all of that. So when you're servicing Bharat and all of that, how do you make sure that quality control stays? How do you make sure that during transportation, the drugs don't get bad?
So we are investing heavily into our infrastructure, into our supply chain. There is a lot of investment going into transportation of these medicines across, point A to point B. We are also partnering and creating new infrastructure in these locations wherever there is some traction that comes up on our platform. For example, in some remote areas of UP, we are now starting to partner with some of those pharmacies, improving the infrastructure there, improving
So you're working with the brick and mortar
Absolutely.
pharmacies.
So for us, it's not that online pharmacies are.
So it's not an either or. Is what you're trying to get at.
It's online and offline together that will actually work for the patients.
So do you guys want to also own such pharmacies, such brick and mortar pharmacies?
So it's not required to own those pharmacies, but it's important
Have
to
channel partners.
have some sort of penetration into the existing offline network of pharmacies who start using online platforms like ours.
And we do invest a lot in training of these pharmacists and training on increasing the IT infrastructure of these pharmacies.
Yeah.
We invest a lot on that, and we have seen a lot of good results where they have upgraded their systems. And as Dharmil said, we're investing into cold chain medicines being delivered at the right temperature. So a lot of companies are investing on IoT devices, real-time monitoring of the medicine's temperature during the transit, and that can be monitored using one app and can be transferred to the patient that look at point A to point B, this was the temperature, and if there was a temperature excursion, that's being recorded. So technology can be used to improve the ecosystem per se. That was not done anytime, right? So these investments were not done in the retail pharmacy chain or the supply chain. So there's a lot of investments that would bring a lot of technology innovation in this space.
And is that on pause at the moment?
No, I mean,
It's
No,
happening.
It's happening, but definitely a positive policy would push
Yeah, of course.
positive reviews.
But tell me something, have you done any analysis on whether, you know, people rely on 1mg or Pharmeasy or other such startups, so all kind of medicines? Would they come to you guys for life-saving medicines and all of that, or is it primarily for, you know, the regular flus and virals and things like that?
I think majority of
I'm sure you have the segment breakups. So.
Yeah. Majority of the customers for all the online pharmacies are from the chronic segment. Indian healthcare overall is divided into two parts: chronic and acute. You know, most of it is, you know, 50-50 or 50% shared by chronic and 50% by acute. Most of the acute guys would prefer going to the offline pharmacies, wherein they want the medicine within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you know, here and now. The chronic purchase is fairly planned and is frequent in nature, and hence that can be sort of enrolled into a subscription program which most of the online pharmacies run, and hence majority of the consumer base is from the chronic segment.
So will you always stay in this B2C, or would you look at B2B, which could be to supply to hospitals and things like that? Is that already happening?
Some of the players are doing it, but again, early days for that.
Early days for that, is it?
Yeah.
Because then you would be really hated right off the traders. And are your medicines, and I'm just asking this also because, you know, a lot of time people believe that just because it's offline, it has to be cheaper, it has to be better value for money. Does that hold true for medicines too?
I think the price is, you know, sort of, there is an MRP, there is like an upper ceiling.
Because you're not going to say, buy one Crocin, get two free.
Exactly, yeah. We wouldn't be doing that, but definitely online is able to pass on some sort of savings for the customers.
The intermediary cost.
Yeah, and what happens is, because we are able to aggregate a lot of demand, there are better volumes that are available for our partner vendors, and hence they are able to pass on some margins to the customers as savings. So that's where, you know, there is some sort of savings that people make, and this is something that is required in this space. There are enough margins available in certain category of medicines, then why should not the patient benefit out of
I got it, but if essential medicines prices are going to be capped, what does that mean for players like you?
So we'll abide by the law of the land. That is, if it is a cap price, then MRP has to be in line with that DPCO regulation, right? So online pharmacies also abide with that. So there's no difference. That's an industry kind of.
I want to ask the one question every startup hates answering. Are you still in the cash guzzling, burning stage, or have you started making money as well?
It's in the early stage, and it's a long-term investment. And if you're able to make the change in the lifestyle of a particular chronic patient, we can improve that chronic patient lifestyle, then that ecosystem would flow. So that's.
I think for us, you know, at least on the transaction side, you know, 45% of the business is, you know, making money. So, but again, like he mentioned, you know, it's early days. The entire category is in its nascent stage. We would want the category to grow, you know, 10 times bigger, and then there would definitely be, you know, a lot of you know, money coming in. More important thing right now is to have the right model which will solve patient problems and also solve certain industry problems. And we are confident that, you know, this category in itself will make money at some point of time.
So with that, here's wishing both of you all the very best, and thanks for giving us this interview in Startup Central.
Thank you so much.